Mhm.
Hello, everybody. We're talking about great relationships today with my co-author and friend, Brenda Rhodes. I'm Shelley Stockwell Nicholas. And how about you? Wouldn't you love a great relationship? And what about great relationships? What does that mean to you? Well, the way Brenda and I see it is there's, like the book says, love me, love you, and love us. So, Brenda, let's talk to everybody about this book and how it came to be. Tell everybody about how we concocted this idea.
Well, it was when we were sitting together and we were just gabbing at your house, and all of a sudden it was, you know, I think we should write a book. And with your great inspiration, of course, absolutely, I went with it. And so we created this wonderful book, and we created a great relationship and got to know each other so much better. There's so many levels that you can use this book. You can use it for yourself personally. You can use it if you're at work with other people or with your family. Shelley, what else would you like to say about that?
Well, one of the things that really struck me as we were constructing this book is this is a very big topic because you your relationship, of course, is with yourself. How you function in the world with others. I mean, how do you do that? I mean, you come to this planet as a codependent in your mother's womb, and then you've got to please her, but you got to please yourself too, or you're going to die. So you have to learn how to love yourself, how to treat yourself with respect, how to be kindly to yourself. Then you have to figure out how to get along with the other people.
Mhm.
And then when you're getting along with the other people, you've got a vast amount of people. So I always like to think of it, and that's how we structure our book, as three hats. So the first hat that you put on is the me hat. Who am I? And it's always remarkable when you ask that question because most people are questing for who am I? And like Alice in Wonderland said, I've been so many people all day long. How can I just be one person? But we're many aspects of this one person. We have many sub personalities. And so then that's collection called you, when respected and respectful of this self, then goes and meets somebody like Brenda, who is also respectful of herself and kindly to herself. But how do we talk to each other? How do we do that? And that becomes a real dilemma. And so that caused Brenda and I to really consider, who are we talking to? Language changes, doesn't it, Brenda, when you're talking to somebody else?
Absolutely. It's that place where you just put yourself to the side because you're solid within yourself. So you put yourself to the side and it becomes about that other person. So that's when you put on that you hat. So you are focusing on that individual, you're listening to them, you're acknowledging them, you are embracing them and allowing them to feel heard and known. And it, with that you hat on, it gives you the ability to be in this special place of also being a space holder where you can guide them, you can help them, or you can just be their friend.
Yeah, that was well said. And one of the best ways to be their friend is active listening, which means you don't add your two bits right away. Sometimes when they say something, you go, yes, you're just their friend. I'm your friend. And I hear you say, or you don't say anything, but you nod your head because you are hearing them. And I imagine that people listening to this right now have had times when they didn't feel heard, when they or where they were just ignored almost. They say blah blah blah, and the other person says yes, but blah 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 blah. They don't hear the blah blah. They don't hear because expression is an acknowledgement of who I am to you, and then you acknowledge back, transmission received. So That is a skill set that a lot of us don't learn. I remember when I was younger, I spent a lot of my time thinking while somebody was talking about how am I going to respond. I hope I give the right answer. I hope I don't, make myself stupid or whatever.
Mhm.
But to listen, really listen and hear is a tremendous skill set. One of the things in the book that I think is really interesting about this is the fair fight. How do you have a disagreement and yet still love each other? And the fair fight involves hearing what the other person said, repeating it back to them, not adding anything to it but what they said. You could change the pronoun instead of, you know, I think you look better in blue, then you say, you think I look better in blue. You acknowledge it by saying that, even if you don't agree. And then you can say, and I prefer red. That's okay. But you first acknowledge what was said and you active listen it back. And that's a skill set. And it's hard for some people.
Yeah, especially when they weren't taught. It's a very different way of being. And sometimes it's about the fact that it's so unfamiliar, it's scary because there's this idea that what if I don't become important anymore, or what if I kind of wither away and I don't exist in the world. And many times people are in a state where, because they were traumatized, they are mousy and they're not able to give their perception or feel safe. And so when we can step into that place of really active listening and wearing that you hat so you can be focused on that other individual, you give them such a gift. It is such a beautiful gift for both of you, actually.
Yeah. Then we have the third hat. This is the we hat. And it's not wee teeny, it's wee huge. Because we is how you are at work with your compadres, how you are in your social circles, how you are in groups, how you are in families, how are you in a group? And it's a very different hat to be part of a team, to be part of the game, be in the game with the group. Sometimes being in the game with a group is detrimental to your true self. Our friend Linda Herrick, remember, she told us how she was with a whole bunch of friends who were always putting down other friends. And then she realized she was joining right in. And she
Yes.
had to say, wait a minute, this is not the group dynamic I want to be part of, putting down other people. She announced that to the group and walked away. And she heard one of them say, who does she think she is? Which was very funny, but not funny because who she was somebody who didn't want to do that anymore. And she stopped it. Lots of times we get into a group situation and there's group think, which may not be the best thing. Like when I work with cigarette smokers and I want to quit smoking, they didn't smoke because they wanted to put poison in their lungs. They smoked because their buddies were all behind the barn smoking. They wanted to be part of the group. They wanted to fit in. They wanted to be, but sometimes the we hat needs a little bit of an adjustment. You need to walk away from some we's and you need to stay in some we's, or you need to just be quiet. How do you deal with the we hat? That's the tough one for me sometimes. How do you do it, Brenda?
Sometimes I become very quiet and I become a witness. And to allow myself to be in that place of witness, I can kind of step outside of it, the situation, and examine it in a whole, which allows me to have a bigger perception and perspective that I can ask myself, how do I want to deal with that? Because I totally understand what Linda did. She doesn't want to be in that, I'll say, energy of the beep, 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 because actually that's being not only unkind, but every one of those other people are not doing what they need to do for themselves. They're focusing on making somebody else wrong. And it takes a lot of courage to stand up and change the direction and move away, or as Linda did, voice it. And then she really empowered herself by moving away and leaving. And when we take that time, we really allow ourselves to bring in more peace, more joy, because we're solid within ourselves.
Yeah.
Being in that place gives us that power to follow our hearts, to listen to our hearts, to listen to our intuition. And we always have a choice. And that's what's really huge about. And within our book, it teaches about a system, and that's the victim trap. And we have a choice of not stepping into that victim. So victim trap is when somebody may say something to me and then I feel really bad. And then I'll go and lash out at my daughter. So now I'm a persecutor. And then maybe I'll go to her, I'm sorry, I'll take you out for ice cream. I'm so sorry. Now I'm a rescuer. But then the victim, which was my daughter, comes back and becomes resentful to me. Or the persecutor, I might become resentful at myself and my daughter because I rescued her, but shame on her for becoming a victim. So this gives us that availability to step out of that when we choose to be whatever hat we want to wear, because every one of those hats are extremely empowering. We are like in a collective, but we're also our own individual.
Yeah, it's so true. So, Brenda, I, I hope that everyone listening is thinking about how they are with themselves, with each other. Like it's a wake up call, maybe, for them to understand that they have a kind of a way of being in the world that might be helpful. And that wake up call just rings and rings and rings until they answer. And the moment they answer is the moment that everything changes. Everything changes when somebody says, hello, I'm listening to this wake up call. I'm behaving in a way that is not working for me. I'm behaving in a way that could be better. And what's the best, the good red road? What's the best way to proceed? So the book is ideally used by you to be the best version of yourself. The book is ideally used by the reader to enjoy the journey. And if they want to get the book, they can either contact on email hypnobrenda, and what is it at?
It's hypnobrenda88 at yahoo.com.
Hypnobrenda88 at yahoo.com. Just, or you can call me at 310-541-4844, and we'll, either one of us will get you this book because we think it's going to help you a whole lot to be a happy little camper, loving yourself, loving you, and loving us. And so until we meet again, I'm Shelley Stockwell Nicholas, and this
And
is,
I'm Brenda Rhodes.
and we love you, and we wish you a very fine Earth walk. See you soon. Bye for now.